first of all, there's some games that you can't play. You got to watch. And if you're just watching the game and the team wins, that means your season tickets are going to get more expensive next year. But there are other games you can play. You go into a casino and you play the game, but you know the game's rigged against you. There are some games where the house wins, you're not winning. And Satoshi created a game that's rigged in favor of the individual.
Is he a real person?
Satoshi is a real person.
Do you know who he is?
Gone but not forgotten.
Do you aware, do you know who that person is?
We're all Satoshi. We're all Satoshi now, Dave.
Okay.
Right? The most important thing to know is that, like Prometheus gave us fire to warm you up, Satoshi gave us a game we can all win, right? And Bitcoin is that game. It's, you know, there are certain things where, like, you don't want to be on a network where they can censor what you say and they can freeze your account. Bitcoin is a monetary network where it won't censor where you send your money. It won't freeze your account. And it's engineered in such a way that on the margin, you're winning the game over time. So think of it like, wouldn't it be great if you had a basketball team, you had LeBron James, and you had Michael Jordan, and you had the digital version of them, and they played forever, and you could get on the court and play with them. And they're scoring 100 points and you're scoring 2 points, but you're all getting rich together and you're all winning together. That's what Bitcoin is like. It's like everybody gets to play. Everywhere in the world I go, there's like a fan club. There's hundreds of millions of people that are on Team Bitcoin. You should join Team Bitcoin. The 100 million fans would be rooting for you. And the great thing about it is you don't just win the game. You get wealthy while you're winning the game. I think we got to play the game of life, and half the game of life is economics. And so you have to play the economic game, whether you like it or not. So you can put your money in a Lebanese bank and use Lebanese currency. The government inflates the currency. The bank freezes your assets, and you fail at the game of life. You can put your money in any asset in Africa, or you can put your money into Bitcoin. So the real appeal of Bitcoin is everybody in the world, I mean, they don't want to put their money in a bank in the middle of Africa in an African currency you've never heard of, right? But Bitcoin gives you control of your money, right? And is that egalitarian? Yeah. Is that humanitarian? Sure, it is. Is it economically smart? Yeah, right? So they're connected, right? You have to have economic empowerment if you're going to achieve whatever you want in life. And to be economically empowered, you have to be on a network that won't freeze you or censor you. And you got to have an asset that nobody else can debase. No corporation can screw up. No country can screw up, you know, and that's what Bitcoin represents.
You gave an analogy that I never really heard or thought of, which I think is worth re-saying. And you're talking about cyber New York, essentially, or cyber buying property.
There's certain places where the land values go through the roof. If, like the land we're standing on right now in Miami, it used to go for $10,000 an acre, and now it goes for $10 million, $20 million an acre. It's up by a factor of 1,000 in less than 100 years. Same in the Hamptons, same in Manhattan. I grew up in Fairborn, Ohio. The land in Fairborn, Ohio did not go up by a factor of 1,000. Right. The land in the middle of the swamps or the land in the Rocky Mountains doesn't go up. So if I gave you the chance to buy up all of Palm Beach or the Hamptons or Manhattan, any time in the past 100 years, it would have been a good deal. In fact, in 1650, you could have bought Manhattan. 1700, you could buy land in Manhattan every decade for the past 300 years at a price higher than the person that sold it to you bought it for, and it still would be a good investment. The only thing that slightly slows you down is the property tax, but assume there's no property tax. You would buy it and hold it forever. Now, if you're an African or South American or Russian or Chinese, you can't buy land in the United States easily. You don't want to own the land in Africa any more than you want to own the land, you know, in the middle of the Rocky Mountains. It's not going to appreciate. So Bitcoin represents cyber Manhattan. It's 21 million blocks. Everybody with money in the world is going to want to put some of their money there, right? How much of their money? Well, if you lived in Lebanon or Iraq or Syria right now, the money you have in Bitcoin you still have, and the money you have in the local bank you don't have anymore, right? if you need to leave a country or flee for your life, and that happens a lot, the money you have in Bitcoin, you get to keep. The money you have in land or buildings or local currencies or a local bank, you lose. So Bitcoin really represents that strongest, greatest city in cyberspace. And it's going to be the center of the digital economy. Like, the really nice thing about it is when you're buying a block or 10 blocks of Manhattan in the year like 1900, you don't know what people are going to do with it, but you kind of figure that all the smart people will move to New York and they'll want that land to build a building on it. And you're going to get wealthy because you're holding it. The same is true with Bitcoin. If you're living in Africa or China or Russia or Argentina and you buy Bitcoin, you don't really know what you're going to do with it. But guess what? MicroStrategy just bought $2 billion of it this week. I know what I'm going to do with it. And I bought it at 100,000. So you said, well, is 100,000 too much? And I said, look, Dave, I'll be buying it at $1 million a coin, and I'll probably be buying it at the rate of $1 billion a day at $1 million a coin, because that's what I do. Just like you're like, crap, Manhattan real estate's really expensive in 1930. It's a lot more expensive than 1830. I'm like, well, 100 years later, we'll still be buying it and we'll be paying a lot more. The only issue is, can you hold it for that time period? Because people are going to want to buy it.
Have you had any doubts at any point? Like, oh, I picked the wrong horse, or you just steadfast? Or were you willing to be like, what, if I'm wrong, and I go bust?
In March of 2020, we all get punched in the face. And for 6 months, you're like, well, do I move to Miami? Do I get in the stock market? Do I buy Bitcoin? What do I do? So for about 6 months, I spent trying to figure out what I'm going to do. And we discovered Bitcoin. And I thought, well, it's not without risk, but everything else is worse. Everything else is a fast death or a slow death. So I'm going to do something new. Over the next 4 years, the risk got taken off. The administration embraced it as a commodity, and that was one risk factor taken off. And then we got the ETFs. That was the second risk factor. And then you got the Trump administration embracing it and the red sweep. That's the third risk factor. And then MicroStrategy, we bought 250 million. We bought 250 million at like 11,800 coin, and then it crashed 20%, Dave.
Yeah.
And we lost $40 million in the next week and a half. And that was.
What are you doing when that happens? Are you like?
I'm figuring out how to buy the next 250 million, because I'm in. You're in. Once you're committed, you're in. And I'm like I'm going to ride it to zero, or we're going to win. But I've decided I want to win. And I knew that if I didn't play the game, I was certainly going to lose. So, that was the difficult time. But then Bitcoin rallied, went back to the all-time high. And from August of 2020 to about a month ago, we raised $10 billion because everybody got behind us and we had a strategy and we committed to it. And then there was the red sweep and big November, and we raised $15 billion in 4.5 weeks.
And you just take that and you buy more Bitcoin. So
now we put 25 billion into the network. But it's like, decide what you're going to do with your life, focus, commit. And yeah, you're going to get punched. You're going to get beat in the face a little bit.
Are you only Bitcoin? Do you other crypto? What are your thoughts on the crypto space? We know how you feel about Bitcoin, but all the other coins and everything going on, like what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so my view is Bitcoin is like a protocol, it's an asset without an issuer. When I'm promoting Bitcoin, it's like I'm saying electricity, fire, English, math, and Bitcoin, Dave. Teach your kids those things. And then you say, what do I think about other investments? I'm like, well, that building might be good to buy. That Picasso might be at a good price. Maybe you should buy some NVIDIA. Maybe that's a good price. Those are 100,000 investments. You have to be the expert. If you're an expert and you can play that game, then you should. I have nothing negative to say about it. But what I'm saying is, if you just want to take some amount of your money, hold it for 100 years and not worry about it, you want the world's global dominant economic protocol, the capital protocol, and that's Bitcoin. So I say Bitcoin is like a savings decision. I just want to save my money without someone effing with it and taking it. Everything else is you're an investor and you're playing a game and you got to make your own decision. There's a lot of investors in the world that aren't allowed to buy Bitcoin. Like in the UK, they won't let you buy Bitcoin in your retirement account. So they need to buy a company, a security. So sometimes people buy our stock because they have to buy a company and they're not allowed. there's hundreds of trillions of dollars of money, some of it with professional money managers. They're not allowed to buy Bitcoin. They're allowed to buy Bitcoin companies. So some people buy our equity for that. Some people are bond investors. They want the upside. They don't want any downside. How do I get the upside of Bitcoin, but downside protection? I need a bond sold by a company that's all Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin crashes 90% tomorrow, the bonds pay off.
Right.
But if you buy 100 million of Bitcoin and it crashes, you lose $90 million. So some people want downside protection and they want the upside. So what MicroStrategy does is we offer the bonds, we offer the equity. Also, our equity is twice as volatile and twice as performant as Bitcoin. There are a lot of like hot money gamblers, the options traders, they want 10x leverage.
Right.
They don't, or they want to sell the call option. If you actually hold a share of MicroStrategy and sell the call option 30 days out, it pays 200% interest, Dave. So there are a lot of traders and they all have their own strategy, and they can't do that strategy without a publicly traded company in America on regulated exchanges, on the CME, on the NASDAQ, that has financial filing. So MicroStrategy is a bridge between the capital markets that are traditional, that have hundreds of trillions of dollars, and the crypto economy, which is global, offshore. And we're taking this scary, high performance, volatile thing, and then we're giving it to people either as 2x or half x or 10x. And it's a fun business.
You said 100 years. Is 10 years long enough of a wait to buy it?
10 years, if you're going to hold your capital, hold your investment for 10 years, then Bitcoin's a great idea. I'd say the minimum is 4 years. Bitcoin's 100,000 right now, Dave. No one's ever lost money buying Bitcoin. No one's ever made money if they're short Bitcoin right now. So if you're looking for 4 months or 4 weeks or 4 days, you have anxiety. If you got 4 years, you're okay. If you have 10 years, you're going to look like a genius. Okay. So, hey, my pitch to you is join Team Bitcoin, man.
As long as you're still playing.
Hundreds of millions of fans. Everybody in the world will love you. And then when Bitcoin goes up, you're all winning together. So join the team, Dave.